Yeah.
The first time we meet our character, we're in his arse. It's a strange way to meet your protagonist. Hey, Nath.
Hello, Trev, mate.
Hello, everyone. Today we need to talk about Uncut Gems, 2019 film by the Safdie Brothers, Josh and Benny, and starring Adam Sandler.
I'm very good at avoiding films that make me feel uncomfortable in any way. And I got to admit, from the absolute get-go, watching Uncut Gems, it was very good at making me feel uncomfortable. But in a different way.
I thought that. As I was watching it, I was thinking, I bet Nath is hating this experience.
If it was down to me, if I was just watching it for something to do and relax over a weekend, I probably wouldn't have got to the end of that film. But I'm glad I did.
See, I like a film that gets in there, and just generates some sort of response other than just watching and taking stuff in. It's someone commented, watching Uncut Gems is like having an anxiety attack. And I can completely understand that.
Do you know what? The first time that you actually enter into his jewellery store, oh my God, where they've intentionally edited this almost like what you'd experience in everyday life, where it's just people talking over people, and then people raising their voices to talk louder to be heard, whereas other people raise their voice more. Oh, it was driving me absolutely mental. But then on the flip side of that, they've made those editorial choices to get that desired effect, and they've done it in a very successful way.
Robert Altman does something similar in a lot of his films. Gets actors to say their lines over the top of each other. If you see like Robert Altman's MASH, he portrays that same hectic realism in the surgery rooms of MASH,
the field
hospitals.
Hospital.
Yeah, I love that effect. A lot of the cinematography in this as well was similar to Robert Altman. It's a lot of shots zoomed in from afar.
Yeah.
So you're close to the actors. But the camera, you can tell the camera isn't. It's sort of away and zoomed in. So you're looking over people's shoulders or you're looking through something. It's like you're at the other side of the room observing.
It gives you that compression of the scene, doesn't it?
It does. But it also gives you a sense that you're sort of watching, almost eavesdropping. Yeah, for those who aren't aware of Uncut Gems, it's basically Adam Sandler plays Howard Ratner, and he's a jewellery merchant in the Diamond District of New York City. And instantly we're thrown into sort of the chaos of his life. He's juggling everything, isn't he? He's into his gambling. He's into sort of doing deals and pawning things to get money for this. And he's playing off his wife to his mistress. And all the time he's dodging and diving these loan sharks as well. Nothing in his life is straightforward, is it? It's a great performance by Adam Sandler, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. It's not a role that you would have normally seen him in. But that said, if you were to describe his characteristics, of being sort of weaselly and slippery and manipulative, I guess, in a way, but sort of this sort of creature that is willing to do anything to save their own skin. And the way he portrays that character, as an actor, the way he takes on that role, to be sort of snivelly almost as he is, and so spineless. From the moment he gets slapped in the face by the loan shark when he sort of offers him the water, you realise that, there's no backbone to this. You've got no respect for this character whatsoever, and Adam Sandler sort of brings that across really well.
He's always thinking ahead to how he can gain from everything, isn't he,
Yeah.
He the amount of times he has the money that he could just give to the loan sharks, but he thinks, I don't want to give them the money, I'll sooner gamble it. And then you sort of just think that he's also got all these people around him who you get a sense, are they using him, all the people in his store? And the fact that the basketball player takes the stone from him, and you just think, how could you let that go? He couldn't say no to the bloke, could he?
That's the spinelessness again. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you really believe that it's worth as much as you think it is, why on earth are you letting this guy get the better of you and just walk out the store with it? You know what I mean? But I think he is a huge basketball fan as well. His character's a huge basketball fan as well, I suppose, which sort of adds some sort of argument to the reasoning behind it. But
well, exactly, because once he knows he's got that, he's like, he's going to play really well tonight because he's got that gem. So he lays all these ridiculous bets. You're rooting for him, but you don't want to be rooting for him. You just think, what are you doing? You're making it worse. You cannot possibly get out of this.
Yeah, I mean...
But inevitably, you are rooting for him at the same time as you're enjoying watching him getting slapped around and walking himself into these corners. It's just funny every time you see him. Like when he takes his son to the apartment where his mistress has been. And his son's like, I need the toilet. And he's like, knocking on neighbours' doors to palm his son off. And then when he comes out, his son's like, who's the hot girl? Your neighbours say there's a hot girl. So exactly what he was trying to avoid, which if he'd just let him in the flat, the girl wasn't there anyway.
I think one of the key points where you start to gather some sort of sympathy is the scene where he goes to his daughter's play.
That's right. He sat there and then the loan sharks are there in the back row.
Yeah.
Sort of waiting for him. That's
where the line is crossed, because it's like this isn't any longer just a work thing. This is like, right, this isn't his family.
One of the things I really liked about this film, I mentioned a bit about the cinematography earlier, but also it's not macro photography, it's almost micro photography, isn't it? Like the very beginning when you see in the caves in the mines at Ethiopia and they're hacking away at the gem and they get the stone out.
Yeah.
And the camera zooms into the gem.
Goes into the opal.
Yeah, it goes into the opal and it's sort of travelling through. And then you end up in his colonoscopy.
Yeah.
The first time we meet our character, we're in his arse. It's a strange way to meet your protagonist.
Oh, I meet loads of people like that, Trev. It's fine. Oh, hello, my name's Dave. How are you? Yeah, I know, weird, right? But yeah, moving on. I was going to say, like, the whole colonoscopy thing, I think maybe it adds scale to the problems that the main character has, because if you were having a colonoscopy for a serious reason, most normal people, until they had the results of that colonoscopy, that would probably be a weight hanging over them, until they get those results. But like, it's just literally once the colonoscopy's over, it's just like, that's it, it's gone. Like, it's never spoken about, it's not mentioned.
Forgotten. Yeah, and you do forget about it until it pops back up.
Yeah, but it just goes to show he's got so much on his plate that his life is so chaotic.
The colonoscopy is the last thing on his mind. We've all forgotten it.
Yeah,
within seconds. So I'd like to talk about also his run-in with the loan sharks and Arno. Eric Bogosian plays Arno, who I've only ever seen him in Talk Radio, right, which is an Oliver Stone film, which I didn't realise until I was researching for this, that Eric Bogosian actually wrote Talk Radio. He's a playwright. That's his play that Oliver Stone made into a film. But what I was going to say is that the two other guys, Phil and Nico, that Phil, the big guy,
yeah,
who's like the most sort of overbearing of the loan sharks, isn't he? He's the one who's always in that Adam Sandler's face. And I was watching thinking, where do I recognise him? I've definitely seen him in something before. So Googled him, and this was actually his first ever film. He's not an actor. The Safdie Brothers have actually picked new actors or non-actors. They've just picked people off the street who look like they belong doing those things. And I thought he was absolutely amazing for just being a non-actor. And his little mate, Nico, as well, is a non-actor. The two little strange Jewish guys who he palms them off with a watch, and Adam Sandler palms them off with a fake watch to get rid of them.
Yeah.
They're just two guys off the streets.
They've got such a weird look to them. You'd think that they are some sort of niche actors, extras or something.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The brothers also employed non-actors in the sense of The Weeknd, who's the R&B singer in the middle of it.
Yeah.
That his mistress is sort of doing cocaine with in the toilet, isn't she?
Yes.
But also Kevin Garnett, the basketball player, is
Kevin Garnett
playing himself.
Yeah.
He is Kevin Garnett. He is a basketball player.
Yeah, it's a well put together film. It's it's well thought out, and I think that like there are a few calm scenes in the whole of the film, and they're really noticeable because of the way the rest of the film's been shot. But like, even when you go in his apartment, just the decor and the way that his apartment's been set up, it just feels like chaos in the apartment.
Oh yeah, and his kid's bedroom. What?
Yes.
You know, all that neon lights and basketball hoops off the walls, and it's just
Absolutely crazy, isn't it?
you couldn't relax in that bedroom, could you?
No.
Just spoiling his children, spoiling his wife, who absolutely hates him.
Oh, God, yeah. Seething hate.
And you can understand why.
Oh, God,
completely.
yeah. Like,
and she calls it at the beginning, doesn't she, where he's back with her, watching the first basketball game that he's bet on there, isn't he?
Yeah.
She says, we'll get over Passover, and then this is done. But she calls it, she says, and I know what you're going to say, you know, why stop at Passover? And he's like, oh, you know, I could go on longer than Passover, I think. And he just can't let go of her, can he?
No.
When he knows that he should, and she doesn't want him.
No.
So you can see it all coming, and when he's sort of telling her, I'm having second thoughts at the end, you know, halfway through, she's got every right to just sort of say, shut the hell up. You put me all through all this.
But the thing is, at that part of the film, us, the viewers, we've almost had enough of him. We're ready to sort of leave him for good, aren't we? To build up the picture, the way he got the money to place the first bet, we don't agree with. Then he goes and gambles in a really bad way. The guy that he's placing the bet with, you know, is telling him that it seems like a really stupid bet. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Then he's not putting his son to bed, not spending any time with his kids, whilst lying to his wife.
He's also betting. The money that he's betting is money that he's pawned from a ring that he's holding in lieu of from the basketball player, isn't it?
Just like...
It says not even his ring.
It's just...
takes it straight to the pawn shop.
Step by step.
$45,000.
Every decision he makes, you're just like, oh God. Like, it's just less and less and less and less respect for this individual, for this person. Yet somehow they still manage to sort of make you feel something for him, to somehow want to see him claw his way out of it. It's incredible.
You're still rooting for him to win that bet. And you think, if you win, you're never going to learn from this. This won't be the end of it. If he wins big, it's still going to carry on. He's going to find somewhere else to lose that money. And then a month or two down the line, he's going to be back in square one, borrowing money again. He's stuck in this circle that he's sort of built himself. He's trapped himself in this life. And no diamond-encrusted Furby is going to get him out of it.
No, it's just chaos. The whole thing, start to finish. Even when you go in his office out the back of his store, again, just the mess, the way everything is, the clutter. And like you say, because they're filming from a distance but zoomed in with a longer lens, because it compresses the scene, there's no space between objects. It makes everything feel very claustrophobic, you know what I mean? Which it just adds to the feel of the chaos, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then you got that chap in there who works for him who's obviously had enough of him and is in there and he's just complaining to him about how he's had enough of it all while Adam Sandler's taking the rock out of the fish. And just that whole scene is like, oh God, just, he's not listening to a word the bloke's saying. No. But that's all we can hear.
Yeah.
You know, amongst other things. And it's just all these arguments and conversations going on at the same time. And he's able to blank it all out and not hear any of it.
It's the whole theme all the way through the film, isn't it? Like, you know, like despite everything that's going on around him, it is just Howard and his own agenda.
There's hardly any scenes where you can write, all right, we take a breath now. Maybe the Passover scene where he goes to, I think it's his in-laws, isn't it? They meet up with their in-laws.
Right.
All the family around the table and they're reciting. Yeah. That's probably the only sort of calm scene in there. And then, but for reasons that we'll discuss in the spoilers section, there's
hidden chaos, tension.
It's still a tense scene, isn't it? But another thing worth mentioning is the music of the film. It's a really strange sort of synthetic. It almost reminds me of like the 80s sort of sound to it.
Yeah.
Sort of like your Stranger Things and your John Carpenter films. And it's all this sort of weird electronic-y music. The bloke called Daniel Lopatin. Oh, God, don't ask me to pronounce names. But he's also called One O Tricks Point Never is his artist name.
Right.
And I listened to a few of his stuff today on YouTube and really strange, really almost Aphex Twin, but it's not. It's almost, a lot of it sounds like it's taken from the 80s. Like, it's just strange, really, but really gave the film this definite quality. And I mean, in the very opening scene, and he's back in the jewellery store, the music is overbearing, it's playing louder than the dialogue. Yet there's all this dialogue going on, and it was like very strange effect, very jarring, but at the same time, it's really effective.
They totally set this tone for this discomfort. And do you know what one of the most frustrating things about it was? Is the fact that I knew full well when I was watching this that you'd already seen it and that you knew how this was going to be making me feel. And I just knew in the back of my mind, I was like, he's sat there and he's thinking, I wonder what Dave's thinking about this.
So, yeah, Arno, the loan shark, turns out to be family. Turns out to be his brother-in-law there.
Yeah. So when you first meet Arno, he's in the passenger seat of a vehicle that Adam Sandler, Howard, is dragged into. And you can see in his face, and it's subtle, but it's there, that there is some sort of conflict going on with him that's not being explained to you, that's not being told to you. And you're aware it's there, but it's very brief and it's sort of there and it's gone again.
I listened to the Safdie Brothers and they was actually saying that Eric Bogosian, he didn't like the way that everyone was just told to just keep talking and keep throwing their lines. And he was just like, I don't know, he couldn't act in that style.
Yeah.
So they say a lot of his frustration in the scenes is real frustration with him trying to act with non-actors who have just been given all these random directions. And but I think it works really well because it is chaos and everyone's fighting to say their lines and it just looks real, doesn't it?
So, but the second time we meet him, the penny drops, and Adam Sandler is at his in-laws' place or whatever.
He's at the Passover, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's sat across the table from him, and you're like, what? Right, okay. How has this happened?
It puts a different slant on that relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then you sort of think, well, how far are these guys going to go then? You know, if it's family. Maybe that's why Adam Sandler's like, he's not that bothered. He thinks they're family. What can they do? What can happen?
But then
pushing his luck.
If ever I was going to do anything like what Adam Sandler was doing, then family would be the last people that I'd want to be behaving like that. I'd be too embarrassed.
But he doesn't care, does he?
No.
Even at the auction scene, where he's horrible at the auction anyway, he's just effing and blinding to that poor girl on the phone.
Yeah.
And the father-in-law, Judd Hirsch, comes to the auction because he's excited for him. And then he's like going, you got to bid against the others. And she's like, what do you mean? He gets his father-in-law to bid for this gem to up the price. And you know, as soon as he suggests it, you know how it's going to pan out. And it's Judd Hirsch's face when he loses is just, well, when he wins, all of a sudden it's like, now I got to pay all this money.
Just Adam Sandler's character is very much the you can choose your friends, you can't choose your family sort of embarrassment that you're just like, oh my God.
He just thinks he is untouchable, doesn't he? He thinks nothing can happen to me. He's not worried about anything. He doesn't worry about how he upsets other people. Doesn't worry about his health. He's not worried about the repercussions of the loan sharks. You know, oh, what's the worst they can do is throw me naked in the back of a car, you know, in the boot of a car at my daughter's play.
Yeah.
And he ends up having to phone his wife to get her out.
Yeah. And this is the thing. You like he doesn't see any issue with the fact that he's called his ex-wife to come out to his car to unlock it so that he can get out of the boot naked. Offers absolutely no explanation whatsoever for what's just happened. Puts on some shabby other clothes that look completely out of place compared to what he was wearing when he first left the room. And then goes back in to sit down to watch the rest of the recital. It's just like, oh my God.
Even the way he's talking to his daughter afterwards, and she's had enough of her father. She just knows what he's like. But then, is the colonoscopy as well a bit of red herring? Yes, but is it also a bit of false hope where you think, oh, things might go his way? After all, he is going to wrangle himself out. And then when he loses the auction, or they win the auction, he ends up with the stone again, the gem. But then the basketball player turns up and he's like still willing to buy it, so he sells it to the basketball player, and then he does this next extravagant bet with the loan sharks turning up.
And then he's just trying to get the money out of the building without him seeing.
Out through the window.
And then he
ends up hanging out the window.
Yeah, and then he's just, boom, he's on to this next ridiculous bet. And you're just like, oh my Jesus Christ, it's never ending. Like, you know, I literally at this point, I'm reeling because you know that because of the time frame, you must be getting towards the end of the film. But it's just like it's just started all over again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God, no.
And then he locks the loan sharks in the booth.
Yeah.
His mistress has run off and placed the bet with the help of that weird little guy with the helicopter.
Yeah, what the hell was that all about?
I think he's another non-actor, but he's a bit like David Dickinson. With,
oh my God.
With like Elton John glasses and I don't know, like Wurzel Gummidge hair.
Yeah, like when you first meet him when she's sat down and she's observing the game, he comes over and speaks to her. I was just like, oh my God, this guy's like quite creepy and rapey, you know what I mean? But he turns out to be a total, again, he's just like, no, that you're meant to think that, you know you're meant to think that, but he's actually like really decent and good and down to earth.
Yeah, or she's got him around her finger.
Yeah.
She as well, you know.
But when the bet comes in, there's that momentary elation, isn't there? You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God. I know, and you're thinking, well, what can go wrong now? He's got to be there because earlier on the bet came in, but Arno had been round to the bookkeepers and stopped the bet, took the money, hadn't he? Yes, yeah, of course.
And you just think, well, you know, this time he's got them pinned. They can't do that now. They're stuck in that little booth. But you still think it can't go all his way, can it? It can't go. And then when the bet comes in and Arno, he raises a smile, you see he's like almost happy. He's going to get his money. This is going to be over.
Yeah. That's it. It's like, we've got our money. Don't lend him anything else. Cut him out of the family. Let it be someone else's problem. Yeah. But
it's not meant to be. The big hood in a really, it's shocking how it comes about.
Yeah, because there's just no dialogue leading up to it.
There's no
just
warning.
Happens, doesn't it?
He looks away from Adam Sandler and then just turns around and bang, just shoots him in the face. And then they shoot Arno and then they just rob the place. And it's the end of it's just petty robbery, isn't it?
But then that's what it was right from the whole beginning. It's just a whole vicious circle. Like people paying people pittance to dig and risk their lives in mines, full circle to people having, again, no respect for the value of life, because it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, oh, I'm just going to shoot these two people in the head just to rub a few jewels out of a store. And that's it. But I don't know how you felt, but when Adam Sandler got shot in the head, I was actually relieved.
I know, it is. It's like, oh, at least it's over. It's
like, thank fuck for that.
It's almost a satisfactory ending, isn't it? You don't want him to win. He shouldn't win. Like I said earlier, if he wins, it's just carrying on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing's ever going to change.
He won't learn anything from it.
I felt more upset that Arno was shot than Adam Sandler was shot.
Yeah.
Because Arno, at the end of the day, he's lent him the money, but he's just been trying to get his money back. It's his money. He's owed it, you know?
Yeah.
He's been played off. But he's hired these two goons to help get the money back, and they've just fucked him.
Yeah, and I think the goons have just like, you know, what is this? This is a joke. Like, nobody disrespects me like this and gets away with it. It's no longer about money. It's about face, you know? And it's just like,
yeah,
I've just had enough of this jerk. Like, I don't even care about the money. It's not my money. But you just don't
there's enough fucking loot here that we can just fuck off with all this money. And then you've also think that the girl's got all the cash from the winnings.
Yeah.
And she must be on her way over there, but it's just the end of the film is just them looting the shop. So you don't know where she's going or whether she's going to come back to it, or will she go back to the apartment? So does she get the money in the end?
I hope so, mate, because like ultimately, other than doing a bit of coke with The Weeknd, I don't actually think she does anything wrong.
She's true to him, isn't she? She's that devoted to him.
Yeah.
She even gets his name tattooed on her arse.
Because there's a scene where he's in the apartment waiting for her, and he's going to surprise her, and you know, he's hiding in the wardrobe, and it's a classic setup for a scene where you think he's gonna think he's surprising her, and he's going to
catch her cheating.
Yeah, he's going to catch her being unfaithful or something, isn't it? And in actual fact, like, when he sends her a message, she's totally honest and responding, and she's into him, and it seems like there's a good energy and it's electric between them. But, you know, he's stringing her along because actually he's still eking out not being able to let go of his actual family, and he's the one who's using her. Yeah. Because she's a younger model.
And...
I feel like she's, out of all of the people, she's the least toxic character. And I feel like she deserves the win.
Definitely.